Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to my beloved lecturer, Dr. Lina Murshida, and my fellow friends. So today our group mate will be presenting about managing small group work. But before that, let me introduce our group mate first. So here are our group members. First presenter will be me, myself, Nur Fatiha. The second presenter will be Asfa Zafira. The third presenter will be Alif Najmi. The fourth presenter will be Adit Farkullah, and the last presenter for today is Anissa binti Zainal Abidin. Okay guys, before we go further, let's look at together the contents first. So today our group members will be covers on the first one is benefits of small group work, the second is the challenges of small group work, the third is designing of small group work, and the fourth is implementing effective group work. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Do you guys ever heard about managing small group work before this? So what is the meaning of small group work? Anyone? Yes, exactly. So according to Wilson and Hannah, 1990, a small group work is defined as a collection of 3 or more individuals who interact about some common problems or interdependent goal, and can exert mutual influence over one another. So basically, working in a group will have the same objective to achieve, so that we need to work together with our teammates to achieve that objective. So do you guys know what are the examples of working in a small group? Anyone? Yes, correct. I'm pretty sure that you guys already know about this, where we can see that the most common thing we need to work in a group is a group presentation, right? Like our group presentation for today. So now let's look at together the purpose of small group. So according to Burke and Allison 2011, they come up with 3 purposes of working in a small group. So the first one is collaborative learning, the second is develop communication skills, and the third is develop understanding. Okay, now I will explain for the collaborative learning first. So collaborative learning is a situation in which more than 2 individuals attempt to learn something. It is more on engagement with other people while doing a task. So from that, it will help the students to learn more actively and effectively because they can interact more with other members. In addition, collaborative learning environment will help to change the situation from passive learning to active learning. The second point is develop communication skills. Working in a group gives the opportunity to the students to interact with their members in a group. From that, it will help the students to develop communication skills, where small group work enhances discussion session, argument, and many more. Thus, this is also will help the students to improve their confidence level when talking with teachers, friends, or other people. As we all know, communication skills are not only important in a school, but also out of school session. So another point is develop understanding. Why develop understanding? Because work in a small group help them to give their own opinion, figure out the solutions, and try to solve the problems together. So it will emphasize on their thinking skills. And another thing is also help them to think critically and creatively. Having a better understanding will improve their grade in academic as well. So now I will pass to the next presenter, which is Asfa Zafira, to explain further about managing small group work.
Thank you, Fatiha, for the wonderful introduction. Hi, I'm Asfa Zafira binti Azlan, and today I will be proceeding to the benefits of small group work. The first benefit of small groups is it can decrease the idle time while waiting for the teachers to help. As we know, in a classroom, there's only one teacher and many students. Sometimes, teacher does not capable to answer every student's inquiry, as it takes times to answer the inquiry one by one. Therefore, by working in group, The ideal time, which means the waiting time for the students, for the teachers to answer their questions, can be decreased as the students can discuss in a group on how to solve the problems. The opinions from the group members can sometimes help in solving the inquiry that the student face. Furthermore, sometimes there are situations where the students having the same questions. Therefore, by discussing in a group, the decision or solution for the problems can be discussed together. The second benefit is the group work can enhance the motivations of students. Why I say so? Working in group can be challenging. When students are able to overcome the conflicts, the end result of receiving a good grade can be extremely satisfying and motivating. Besides, a research by Alison Brooke in 2011 shows that the students who contribute to group discussion and engage with the assigned problem-solving tasks are highly dedicated to figuring out of a solution. This is because when they find a solution, these students will feel extremely satisfied with their roles in making that decision compared to those who less involved. This leads to more positive situations of their group learning experience in enhancing motivation. The third benefit of small group work is it can enhance the involvement of the students in learning. So, as we know, the teamwork is an essential component of academic life where the students explore the complex tasks together in a group that they otherwise would not have done it if they are alone. This means that it enhancing both their individuals and collective learning. The phrase, two heads are better than one is undoubtedly true. A research discovered that if students are able to work together, for example, on a problem-solving task, they are more likely to try various techniques to attempt to solve the problems. Additionally, according to Carroll in 2015, they can also learn faster from positive and negative feedbacks. Students are also learn better by discussing and questioning each other's opinion and reasoning, as this allows them to develop different perspectives in completing a task. By this, students can develop a new perspective. In comparison with the traditional teaching method, the students will be passive learning and less involvement in learning. Next, looking at the next benefit is a small group can increase the achievements of students. According to a survey by Randall, 97% of the students reported that working in a group environment has aided their learning and collaboration abilities in some manners. Some students claim that the group work was indeed a learning process within itself. That is, they learn about groups by working in a groups. Also, another research revealed that working in groups lead to higher memory recall and comprehension, especially in learning. This is because students tend to remember more from a group discussion than if they listen to the same content in a more instructional setting. By this, the students' academic achievement tend to score better. Moreover, the fifth benefit of working in group is it can indirectly decrease the competition among students in the group itself. Why I say so is because by working in group, students usually engage more on cooperative learning. They work together to produce the best output to make their groups winning. Therefore, this will make them forget about the competition among them. Furthermore, it is because the group work is graded as a whole. In short, the students tend to be more cooperative compared to competitive. Other than that, let's take a look on the fifth benefit, which is the group work can increase the interaction across genders, ethnics, and racial lines. Okay, so what I mean by this? When the students works in heterogeneous group, which means there are variety of genders such as men and women, different ethnics and racial as well, such as Malay, Indians, and Chinese, they can develop the relationship across genders, racials, and ethnics, since we know that there are diverse of ethnics in Malaysia. Working in group give an excellent opportunity to get know one another more closely. It can be beneficial in promoting the social interactions and for developing a strong learning networks. This will reduce the racism among the students and indirectly improve the introvert's ability to collaborate with other students. This is because group work enables the students to develop a better understanding of themselves and how their peers view them. Students are able to evaluate their social skills and behavior when they receive a constructive feedback from their peers and how well they perform on a task and how well they work as a team. Therefore, interaction of students among different genders, ethnics, and races are crucial in developing a future individuals with a strong social skills. The last benefit is the group work can improve the relationship among the students with and without disabilities. How the relationship can be improved? Okay, for example, some students always look down on the disability students. When they are in the same group with those disability students, they need to discuss with these students, exchange ideas, and etc. Therefore, it will improve the relationships among them. This is because working in a group exposes students to a new perspective, style of thinking, and disagreement. By this, according to Arabella and Michael in 2015, it indirectly can improve the relationship among students. Moreover, this can indirectly allow the students to improve their communication skills, collaborate more effectively, and have a greater capacity for brainstorming new ideas. This is not only contributes to to more holistic approach to learning, but it also improves the group productivity as well. Okay, class. So just now we have looked a few of students' benefits of group work. How the small group work or discussion can be benefits to the teachers. So, the small group works can help the teacher to conduct more caring, equitable classroom in which students serve as academic and social resource for one another, and students are accountable to each other individually and as members of a group. I think that's all from me for the benefits of the group work. I will pass the floor to the next presenter, which is Alif Najmi, to present about the challenges of the small group work. Thank you.
Thank you, Asfa, for the great explanation. Hi everyone, my name is Alif Najmi. Now, I want to continue our presentation with the topic, the challenges in small group work. Did you guys always having challenges in doing anything? It is correct, right? So, in this small group work, they also have several challenges for students and teachers that we will discuss detail after this. There are 4 challenges that we will discuss detail for today's topic. The first one is allowing students to form their own group often lead to segregation among students. Second is unequal participation of group members among students. Third is lack of accomplishment. And the last one is student lack of cooperation with one another. So, we will go through one by one these 4 challenges of small group work. The first challenge is allowing students to form their own group often lead to segregation among students. Using this method, teacher is required to ask students to build a small group in to do the work. Some teachers just give freely students to build their own group partner and choose their close friend in the same group. This may lead to the segregation situation among students in the classroom. This challenge also can be in terms of gender, race and ethnicity. For example, in the school, there always have a conflict on students that fight between Indian, Malay and also Chinese. It is important to recognize that strong force operate against this formation of cross-ethnic friendship, especially between students in the school. Besides, it is also can occur barrier to friendship exists between students with the individual's disabilities and non-disability students. According to the Individual with Disabilities Education Act IDEA requires the inclusion of students with disabilities in general education classroom. So, it is needed that disability students also cannot be segregation with other students for them together learn in the same classroom. But mere physical presence is not enough to ensure that these individuals will be liked or even accepted to be participate in the small group work. The suggestion for these challenges, teachers need to arrange the small group that have been created is fair to all students, especially between disability and non-disability students in the classroom. Second, teacher also encourage to make other students to support the disability students to participate and having fun to have small group work. The second challenge is unequal participation of group members. This challenge occurs due to the freeloader phenomenon that occur between students in the teaching and learning process. Do you guys know what is the mean terms of freeloader? Alright, freeloader means when one or two students in a group end up doing all work while others is sit back and relax. For example, based on the picture, in the small group of students, there is only one student to have participate in the work and raise hand to do the work. But the other student did not want to be participate. This situation give advantage for the smart students that perform well in the classroom and make it not a fair distribution for all students. Freeloading students will be unlikely to distribute on that activities that have been set up by the teachers. According to the King, Luberda, Berry and Zander, 1998, a study of students' perception of doing mathematics in a cooperative learning group has been made. The result has been shown that about the perception on students become freeloading on the small group work in the classroom. In that study, they have been focused on two samples of students, which is Brad and Peter. In the result of interviewing both of the students, Brad have failed to understand the task, so he withdraw from participation or engage in the group work. While Peter, he feels other students seldom ask for his ideas, but they never listen to him. Finally, made him unlike to do work anymore and participate on the group is not working. Both students have their own reason why they choose to be freeloading during the small group work. So, based on the study for the both students, freeloading might be a route of students be passive in the classroom. According to the Catherine Mulroney's topology of passive students, 1992, there are 6 categories of passive students. So, let's find out the 6 types of passive students that have been listed on the table. The suggestion for this situation is teacher must try to identify the passive student in the classroom to make sure this type of student can be avoided from being more passive to other students. Second, teacher also must try to make the classroom more interesting to attract students to be more fun and enjoy learning and working in the group, especially for the passive students. Third challenge in this small group work is lack of accomplishment. Significant amount of instructional time was wasted while students form group, and most students did not get much done even once the group had formed. For example, a teacher asked to form 4 different type of group in the class. The situation being so loud and crowded and make teacher difficult to control the situation. Some students also view this situation as opportunity to interact, as to fool around and socialize between them. It will distract other students that follow the instruction from the teacher to build small group and want to focus to continue their learning in the classroom. Teachers also have been disrupting because of repeatedly ask students quiet down while forming this group work for students. The suggestion for these challenges: teacher need to plan a suitable and efficient instruction for students to form small group work based on the classroom situation. For example, if the student in the classroom more passive, teacher can make the forming of group more interactive and active way to make sure student can attract to follow the instruction. Second, teacher also can use alternative apps to build group among students. For example, in the picture, they also have Wheel of Meme and Name Generator as example apps that can be used to form group among students. The last challenges are students lack cooperation with one another. Some students tend to work alone because of not interested or make engagement with other students. It is difficult to change student behavior to work in group, and likely more focus spend a lot of time each other. For example, in the classroom environment, they also have students that thinks learn the subject individually, have more space of time for them alone, that is more effective to study rather than working or discuss the subject together. The norm of the traditional classroom different and difficult to practice the group work in the classroom environment. The suggestion for the last challenge is teacher need to try help them learn to communicate with other students, especially working in a group, because it is one of the skills that need to be improved for their future need. Second, teacher also must try to create an engagement in the classroom between students that help them to be more easily adapt with the method small group work in the classroom. So, I think I have explained detail all 4 challenges on doing this small group work. All the challenges need to be overcome to make sure this method will be effective for students' learning process in the classroom. I think that's all for me. I will pass the next presenter, Adib, to continue the presentation.
As we can see on the screen, there are 6 types of passive students. The first category is discouraged student. Discouraged students feel it is perceived the group task to be too difficult, and they also think that it is better to leave to others that understand the task to do the activity. The level of achievement for this category of passive students is mostly low achievers. The second type of passive students is unrecognized students. This type of student can have initial effort is to ignore or unrecognize the tasks that have been given by the teacher. They also feel it is best to retire and didn't want to do the task and activity in the classroom. The level of achievement according to this type of passive student is mostly low achievers. The third type of these passive students is despondent students. This type of students feel uncomfortable with one or more students in a group. They also does not want to work together with other students in the classroom. The level of achievement for this type of passive student is mostly high achievers. Next, The type of passive student is unmotivated students. These unmotivated students perceive a task that feel it is unimportant. They also feel like just a game that did not have any reward for them if they fully finish the task. The level of achievement for this type of passive student is mostly high achievers. There also a type of passive student that category is bored students. Bored students feel the task is uninteresting and bored to do in the classroom. They also feel it is not challenging or too easy to complete the activity that have been given by teacher in the classroom. Level of achievement for this student is mostly low achievers. The last type of passive student is intellectual snoop. Intellectual snoop students feel their peers are less competent. They also does not want a lot of explaining. For example, like tasks in the classroom to be presentation. They didn't feel that this is suitable for them. They also feel like working on the task individually more suitable for them. The level of achievement for this type of student is mostly high achievers. From the situation Brad and Peter, we can recognize that Brad is one of the categories passive student from the category discouraged students. It is because Brad feel not easy to understand the task, and he think that the task is too difficult for him to finish it. For Peter, it is from the category despondent students because Peter feel uncomfortable with other students. It is because from the situation, Peter have been explained about the idea, but other students didn't want to hear and ignore him. So because of that, they feel that they're not suitable and uncomfortable with that situation.
A very good explanation by Najmi. Thank you for passing the floor to me. Now I will continue with the designing and implementation of group works. We have heard from Najmi that group work also has their challenges and issues, but how we want to reduce or avoid the pitfall or issues of group work. So as a good teacher, we need to design wisely and implement the effective group work. But how? Okay, for this part, I and Anissa will be explaining about this. So we have separated into this topic into two parts, which is Adik will be explained on designing the effective group work, and Anissa will be explained on implementing effective group work. So let's go. For designing the effective group work, we will take a look to 3 points that I have listed as you can see on the slide. First, decide on type of group. Second, decide on the size of group. And the last one is decide on group composition. So we're gonna take a look one by one, okay? Alright. Decide on type of group. As we know, students can work in a variety of ways. And with group work, the learning will be fun and more engaging. Based on Stodowski in 1984, he has identified 5 different types of group, which is helping permit, helping obligatory, peer tutoring, cooperative, and completely cooperative. So for your information, the first 3 types of group that I have listed before, helping permit, helping obligatory, and peer tutoring, can be considered as collaborative seat work. Why? Because each of them involves students to assist one another on individual assignments or tasks. So each of these groups have their own target and objectives. So we as a teacher can use any of this type of group work in the classroom that can maximize the involvement of the student and provide effective learning. Okay, first type of group, which is helping permit. For this type of group, student is allowed to assist one another on individual assignment. Means that they are allowed to help but required to help one another. So the individuals still work on their own task, not a group task. So this group usually will be evaluated as individuals. So second type of group, we have helping obligatory. So this group a bit different with helping permit, which the students are expected to offer mutual assistance. Okay, so the third one is peer tutoring. In relationship, between the students are not equal for this group, because an expert student is paired with a student who needs help. So assistance flows in only one direction, not two ways direction. So this is similar to mentor-mentee. Next is cooperative. Differ from the first three type of group, which is helping situation, the student in those groups share a common goal or end instead working completely individual tasks. So in this cooperative group, some division of responsibilities can occur. Means each student will have their own responsibility in order to complete the assignment. So for example, a group researching a cat. Okay, so it might decide that one student will learn about the type of the cat, another student will learn about cat food, and a third student will learn about anatomy of the cat. So the task is carried out independently, but everyone's assignment has to be coordinated at the end to produce the final joint product. Okay. Last but not least is completely cooperative groups. So these groups are more complex than cooperative group. Students share a common goal and there is little or no division of responsibility. So all members of the group work together to create the group product. For example, the assignment is about determining political party affiliations. So as a group, they need to decide whether a hypothetical person is a Democrat or Republican. Okay. Different types of group are suitable for different types of activity and they require different types of skills. For the first three type of group, helping permit, helping obligatory and peer tutoring, the skill required is ask for help, explain, provide support and encouragement. For cooperative, the skill required is divide group tasks into the individual tasks and coordinate individuals' efforts to produce final group product. So for completely cooperative, the skill is take turns, listen to one another, coordinate efforts, share materials, collaborate on single tasks, solve conflicts, achieve consensus. So as a teacher, you can use any of this type of group based on your activities. So I know you have a lot of activities right in your mind, so don't select the wrong group, okay? Alright. Next is decide on the size of the group. So group work can be in a pair, group of 3, group of 4, group of 5, 6, 7 and so on. So it depends on the activity you assign. For a pair group, it can maximize students' opportunity to participate. So this kind of group appropriate for younger students since we want them to engaging more social skills through their development and growth. And for pair group, it will be easier to control since the group is only 2 and manage. So for group of 3, still easier to manage, but you need to make sure 2 students don't form a coalition, which leave a third student isolated. So each of the students need to communicate to each other. For group of 4 and 5 are very recommended but for group of 6 are the upper limits. So keep in mind that as a group increase, the resource pool also increase. So in other words, there are more heads to think about the task and more hands to share the work. So this is because the larger the group, the more difficult it is to develop a plan of actions, allocate turns for speaking, share materials and reach consensus. Are you agree? Yes. For example, when we have small activity, a group presentation, our group is 8 members, so it is hard to make all the members to present and involve during the presentation. In addition, it is difficult to divide tasks fairly because some members maybe get a topic with small content, but some members get topic with a lot of content. Hence, we can see bias is occur. That is why larger group are not recommended. But if the situation forces you to make larger group, you have no choice but try to think how to reduce the bias and utilize the involvement of all group members. As mentioned before, group work can provide opportunities to develop relationship with those who are different from themselves. As a teacher, we need to form a group based on heterogeneous. Okay, what is heterogeneous? Anyone else? Okay, so heterogeneous means diverse in character. So I have listed 3 types of heterogeneous that need to consider with respect to gender, ethnicity, linguistic, background and ableness. Next, we have heterogeneous with respect to achievement level. And the last one is heterogeneous with respect to social skills. So The group must heterogeneous with respect to gender, ethnicity, race, linguistic background, and ableness. In Malaysia, we have various races and ethnicities. So for example, we have Malay, Chinese, Indian, and non-Malay Bumiputra. So when a group work consists of various of races and ethnicity, students could learn about one another, appreciate differences, and develop the ability to work with others. Indirectly, it promotes unity and reduce racial gaps. Furthermore, the group composition must heterogeneous with respect to academic achievement level. So this kind of composition are more likely for pair group work like mentor-mentee. So students who perform can teach students who perform less. This is because some students are shy to ask teacher. So when they are not understanding or issues in this topic, in the topic they learn, they will shy, but they comfortable with their friends. So the mentor can retain the knowledge, the mentee can gain the knowledge. In addition, the group composition must heterogeneous with respect to social skills. So in the classroom, not in the classroom only, but in the world, I think, so we have a lot of people with different personalities and social skills. Same in this context, okay? So we can observe people around us, right? Don't judge, okay? Just observe. Okay, our friends, our family, and next, inshallah, our students. So there are a lot of different personalities we can observe. Some students have difficulty working with each others. Some are volatile, angry, and bossy. Some students are introvert. Some students have unusual leadership abilities. Some students have particularly adept in resolving conflicts, and many more. So dispersed students like this in one group can give benefit with the group with their talents. So they can learn with each other with different perspective that will open their mind. So Allah create a human being with all the different personalities and social skills they have, because He wants us to know that no one is perfect and we need each other to complement each other. With that, we will be much stronger and much better than before. So imagine if the group work full of angry, bossy, and introvert. So how do you think this group will be performed? Of course, they will have hard to communicate, they will have difficult to discuss. So we as a good teacher need to know our student and observe them to make sure that all group are balanced in social skills, personalities, and talents. That's all for designing the effective group work. Now I will pass the floor to Anissa to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Adib, for your explanation regarding on how to design small group work. Now, we will proceed to the last part of this presentation, which is the implementation of the effective group work. Before we go further details in this presentation, my presentation will be divided into 3 parts, which is the first part, the second part, and the third part that is stated in this slide. Okay, now, we will look into the first part of this presentation, which is the structure task for the positive interdependence. For the first strategy on how to promote this positive interdependence is by sharing the materials among the group members of our students. As for instance, in the situation where one of the students from the group has a math problem and another person has the solution for the math problem, and if they want to complete the problem, they have to cooperate with each other. However, by sharing these materials is actually unlikely to ensure the meaningful interaction. Next, the other way to encourage this positive interdependence is by creating a group goal. If we wanted this strategy be successfully and act efficiently, we need to reward them with any grade points or group points, group rewards, and others. As for an instance, if we want to encourage them to help each other in the assigned group, we can give extra point or any extra marks to every group in which all the students contribute and helps each other. And also, for the student who reach predetermined level of accomplishment, then everyone will be able to achieve the scores and contribute to their groups. As can you notice that by having these practices, it clearly increase the pressure among the group members to make sure everyone's tasks are done and completely performed. Next, we will proceed to another way to promote the positive interdependence, which is to structure the task so that the student will depend on one another for further information. And for your information, the picture shown here is a jigsaw method, where this is one of the earliest cooperative learning and a good example of group work situation. As you can observe here, the heterogeneous team are responsible for learning academic material that has been divided into every section. Okay, next, we as a teacher, we can also foster the interdependence among our students by creating a rich and complex tasks that require multiple abilities such as role-playing, public speaking, and others. We have to convince them that every members of the group have their responsibilities and their own characteristics. Every student has their own goods at that, good at this, and not all group members is good at all of them. This actually will help to reduce the differences in participation between low and high status students. And not just that, it will help to enable those who are left behind and left to contribute. And lastly, in this first part is we can assign our student with different roles to group members, which are each roles placed and required to be fulfilled if the group want to complete the task, such as a task maker, a timekeeper, and maybe a facilitator, and others. For your information, by assigning these roles, it actually helps to send message to our students that each of them has something to offer, and this can lay groundwork for the equity. That's all for the first part. Now we will proceed to the second part. For your information, one of the major problems that associated with group work is unequal participation. They preferring to be free load or work between themselves. Individual accountability is the measurement of whether or not each group member has achieved the group's goal, where assessing the quality and quantity of each member's contribution and giving the results to all the members. One of the ways to encourage the participation of these students is to make sure that everyone is held they are responsible for his or her contribution towards the group goal. And not just that, we can also observe our students in the group by keeping the track of their contribution to their group works. The next way is by assessing individual learning. We as a teacher, we can check their understanding and by giving random individual tests to test each of them. When the students have to provide the information for their groups by observing each members of the group. In the group, we observe on how the student teach their group members on what they have learned and improve each other ideas or maybe each other works. Lastly, we can ensure this accountability is by differentiating the responsibilities among our student needs. And how does it works? Students doesn't appear to feel awkward or resentful about the differentiated assignment. Indeed, they are aware of one another's capabilities and seems to feel more comfortable when we are acknowledge and engage them towards each other. Hold on everyone. Now, allow me to proceed with the third part in my presentation. There will be 3 stages to help them with, which is valuing the cooperation, group skills training, and also evaluation. We We'll go through the valuing the cooperation first. Before our student can start work together productively, they must understand the value of the cooperation. When they have to work into groups, it will be helpful to have them engage in non-academic activity to build their team identity. To ensure that everyone in the group has contribute and participates in the given task, everyone should play their role to help one another. Next, we will proceed with the group training skills. In this process, it actually requires a systematic explanation, modeling, and feedback. We can help our student by giving a helpful guideline for what is expected, such as we provide our support, and we can also ask them to listen to it to their peers. To begin with, analyzing the group work that has been selected to determine the specific skills that they need to know. And not just that, we can also explain to our students that what will be their learning necessary skills towards a group work. And finally, we have to provide them with opportunities to practice the skills and to receive the feedback. Lastly, will be the evaluation stage. So, students need the chance to discuss what happened and evaluate how successful they are in the group to be learned from their experience. The groups is actually will be evaluated on how positive and how well they are working with, which is they listen to each other, and their involvement and also their engagement between each other. And not just that, we can encourage the groups to share and compare their experience to each other. Now, we will proceed to the last part of my presentation, very last part this time, which is the monitor learning, involvement, and also the cooperative behavior. In order to ensure our students are well involved, productive, and working collaboratively, we can constantly circulate them with listening, assessing, and encouraging. When we monitor our students, it actually helps to promote a high level of students' involvement in the group activities. Last but not least, when we divide them in a large assignment into a small component, this allows us to keep on track on how well they are functioning in their group. I think that's all from my part. Despite all these methods that I've given to you, there will be still have students doesn't want to cooperate and join the groups. What do you think you have to do? Next, Fatiha will explain on how to cooperate with students who don't want to join any group work before she concluding our presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you, Anissa. So now I will continue for the last part for today, which is what to do if a student doesn't want to join a group. Sometimes a student will resist being a part of a small group and they ask a permission to work alone instead of in a group. So we as a teacher need to think the ways to solve this kind of problem if it happened one day. Okay, now as you can see in this slide, there are 4 ways to handle the problem. First, assuming the group work is meaningful. Second is announce that the group is temporary. The third is emphasize the importance of working in a group. And the last is students need to give a valid reason. So we move to the first point first, which is assuming the group. Okay, first, teacher need to assume that the group work is meaningful and student participation is very important. Teachers need to convince their students first, where students need to give their full responsible in their group, because working in a group gives them more benefits and meaningful. But if there is still someone who does not want to join the group, the teachers need to find out why a student does not want to join that group. Maybe because there is someone who bullies he or she when joining the group, or maybe someone has rejected that individual to come and join them. So what the solution is? The teacher can try to change the group. On the other hand, teachers can also have an after-school meeting with them, explain the importance of the assignment in a group and its value for them. Then, try to figure out how to handle the situation. Second is announce that the group is temporary only. Teachers can talk about the need to change group composition on regular basis so that the students do not feel stuck with people they do not particularly like. Perhaps the teachers announce ahead of time how long the group will be together, where maybe it takes 15 minutes only, or it takes 4 or 5 weeks only, depending on the activity of the group. If the students know the group is temporary, this will help them to accept what is perhaps an unappealing situation. Third is emphasize the importance of working in a group. Emphasize the students on how wonderful of learning when working with many different types of people. Sometimes it is a lot easier just to allow the students not to join a group, but a part of education is developing the social skills need to work with variety of people. So one of the responsibilities of teacher makes them to realize working in a group is a very important, and these are essential skills not just for school but also for their daily life. The last step is students need to give a valid reason to the teacher. Some of the teachers agree that they might occasionally allow the student to opt out of a group activity if their reasoning was valid and if the activity did not require their participations. As Donna remarked, maybe they have a bad day or a problem at home, so they prefer working alone instead of in a group. So there is no choice for the teachers if this would happen, where forcing them to work in a group seems counterproductive. So we have reached at the end of this presentation for today. Since our group already covered the important parts for managing small group work, so let me recall a little bit about the contents that we have covered. So basically, there are 4 elements that you need to know, which are: first, benefit of small group work; the second, challenges of small group work; third, designing group work; and also implementing effective group work. So teacher play an important role, where teachers need an understanding of intricacies of group work in general and cooperative learning in particular. This chapter already covered some of the problems that can arise and has divided some strategies for minimizing the problems. Group work is an extremely challenging instructional approach and requires careful planning and implementation. So that's all from us. Thank you for giving a full of attention in our group presentation today. Stay safe, stay healthy, and Assalamualaikum.